ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting episode of your favourite podcast, The Best Version of You. I'm your host, as always, Mr. AJ Roberts, and today I'm extremely delighted to bring you a very, very young and talented guest in the form of Mr. Andreas Beirne. He is the main head and fitness instructor and owner of multiple franchises at Bootcamp UK. Andreas, how you doing, man?
I'm great, thanks for having me. This is exciting, I'm loving this, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, cool. Obviously we've been chatting some time. I'm glad we can finally sort of nail this down and get you on the show.
Totally.
Guys and girls, as I've said previous podcasts, I aim to bring you inspiring guests that have a great message and who are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So I wanted to get Andreas onto the show as soon as I can because he is doing exactly that. He's doing amazing things, not just with his boot camp, but also with the exterior charity work that he's doing and the massive amount of sort of money he's raising for charity. But I'll let him talk to you about that more as we go on. Now, like many of the other guests I've had, Andreas is a former veteran of the British Army.
Yeah.
Do you want to just talk to us about your time in the Army?
Sure thing. I joined the Army when I was 18 years old. I joined the RLC and a young sprog. I wasn't, very naive at the time as well when I first joined the Army. I was out in Afghanistan by the time I was 19 years old, and I think went out there in 2010 at the height of the elections as well. Usually my sort of job role in the Army was to support the frontline troops. However, I was driving out. I was outside the war every single day. The elections were quite tough as well, and then within the first couple of days, we got hit a couple of times, and a couple of my friends had to get sent home as well. So quite a traumatic experience when we first went out there. Quieting down afterwards, but it was quite intense when we first went out. But that's what you sort of join up for, I guess. And I'm very grateful for every experience that I occurred when I was in the Army. So I spent 7 years in the British Army. Came out when I was 25, and the majority of the time when I came back from tour was spent in the gym as a physical training instructor, and I was attached to the Queen's own Gurkha Logistic Regiment for the whole time. Throughout the whole time I was there in Aldershot with the Gurkhas, and they were definitely a great bunch of people. Great morale with those guys.
Did you get really good at volleyball?
I did, although they never really let me play that much, to be fair. But yeah, volleyball, they love volleyball, don't they? They love all sports, to be fair.
Yeah.
They're great athletes and great people. And I've always found with the Gurkhas, because it's such a tough selection process to even for them to get into the British Army, that every single one of them is grateful for that opportunity to be in the British Armed Forces. And they are one very tight-knit community, and to be a part of that community, part of that gym, was something special for me, and I always will hold the Gurkhas in very much high regard.
That's cool. And then, like with your obviously first Afghan tour, like you said, you've only just gone out there, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Experiences like that really make you grow up quick, don't they?
Totally. It was, I was naive, I was immature at that age as well. And when I went out there, I definitely came back a different person. Not just with the instance what happened out there, but more so just to see the poverty and the complete third world country, and a country that was just war ravaged, and but even then, like the people, the Afghan people seemed really resilient, even throughout all the adversity that they occurred. So yeah, a great experience, something that you never really quite forget. And even like as a 30-year-old as I am now, now and again you think about it and what happened, and it sort of brings it home a little bit for you. Yeah, for sure.
And how long is it now since you've been out? A few years now, though, haven't you? 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years I've been out now. And I made the decision to leave the Army. I was getting to a point. The Army was going through a bit of a strange time when I was in, with a lot of redundancies, a lot of cutbacks as well with the Tory government. And I think when I was in at that time, I volunteered for redundancy, didn't get it because my report was too good, so they wanted to keep me in. I was quite vital to be in the gym, and I was quite a good lad. But promotions were also really slow as well, so I went up for promotion. I did everything I possibly could. I was just a private soldier as well. And I didn't get it. And I remember just being on parade, and it was the parade where we find out what private gets promoted or what privates get promoted. and there was like 100 of us on the parade, and Gurkhas notoriously is a slow promotion anyway. But I was in there and I stood there, and one private got promoted and I came second. I could not believe it. But it was like a real defining moment of my life as well. And I remember just going to the JPA terminal straight away afterwards and just signing off. Like, I didn't even go to the chain of command like you meant to. I just went straight to the terminal, signed off straight away, and I made my decision, and nothing was going to change that decision. And it was definitely a good decision for my life, a good decision for my family's life at the time as well. And I don't really regret it one bit. There's elements that I miss of the army, but there's a huge amount that I don't. And I definitely feel like the army was a part of my life that I'll always be grateful for.
Yeah.
But I never look back to it with any regret or wish I got promoted or any of this sort of stuff, because for me it's just a process that I've gone through my life, and it's brought me to where I am today, and I'm in a great place now. Whereas back then I was a little bit bitter that I wasn't getting promoted and wasn't really working out for me, you know. So yeah, it was, and I spent the last year doing lots and lots of courses, making you know, with all the LCAS stuff that they were giving me as well. You know, I was proactive with all the courses, getting myself out into Civvy Street, doing lots of interviews, bits and pieces with the gyms in London and the surrounding areas. And I made some moves straight away to go into Civvy Street, and I did that with great positivity, because I knew that Civvy Street was going to be tough.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when you're in the army, you sort of in that bubble, aren't you? You know, where you get paid every single month, and you're absolutely loaded for a weekend, and then you're skint by the second weekend. And everything gets done for you. You know, you get told where to be, at what time, and what to wear, and you don't really get to make any decisions at all. And for me, that wasn't quite for me. I knew that I was, without trying to blow my own trumpet, knew that I was better than that. You know, and I knew that I wasn't given the opportunity to sort of thrive as much as I could have in the army. Partly that was my fault. I wasn't the most well-behaved soldier, but equally I felt like there was a lot more for me to give. And potentially that wasn't seen by the chain above. But again, it's just one of those things now.
It's quite a common theme in a lot of the guys that I've had on the show recently, and people I still speak to all the time that have got out usually for that reason, because they just need that, they just want that room to be able to grow into what they want to do. And sometimes the forces does hold you back because it's a big machine, and at the end of the day we're just a tiny little cog in there, so we need to be working for that machine.
Yes.
You know, not necessarily for yourself all the time. That said, the Armed Forces offers a huge amount of opportunity to get obtain qualifications.
Absolutely.
Different courses you can go on.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's like adventure training or sports courses, coaching courses, stuff like that. And you know, but when I was serving, I said to my lads all the time, get yourself as many coaching courses as you can.
Yeah.
And it's massively important, and you'll agree with this. If you're doing it at a young age, whether it's a football coaching course or a boxing coaching course, even tennis, whatever, the skill to be able to teach a skill for somebody else to stand in front of people and deliver information is absolutely vital, and a huge transferable skill that takes you really far. Well, not just Civvy Street, but just in life in general.
Absolutely.
And you would have had guys in the army that would have been grey men, so to speak, wouldn't you? And you know, it's vital that people do as many of these courses as you can.
Oh, totally. You need to
when you get
out there.
Yeah, when you get out, it benefits you massively. And when you refer to LCAS, obviously, guys and girls, he's referring to enhanced learning credits that people in the military are entitled to after serving a certain period of time. You get like £2,000.
Yeah.
You know, to use
golden money.
Yeah, on courses, it's free money. I use mine on a level 7 with executive coaching and mentoring. It's helped me massively for my own business.
Good.
But yeah, it's what you've done is absolutely, you know, critical part.
I've taken so many parts from the army and transferred those skills into Civvy Street. Even the ability to stand in front of 100 Gurkha soldiers for regimental PT has guided me into a civilian job, really, where I've got 100 now civilian boot campers, and I'm taking it for PT, and I'm taking it with confidence. And even when you talk about like section command drills and things like that when you know, I can't remember all the acronyms and stuff, but you know, loud, clear, with pauses, all that sort of stuff as well. You know, like to be able to speak to anyone anyone from any background at all has been developed and enhanced from the confidence I had from the army. You know, and you know, PTIs notoriously in the army have like a huge amount of confidence anyway with their white vest and their white shorts and their gelled hair. So, you know, like that's been transferred massively from the army life into civil life, and I'll be forever grateful for what that experience taught me, you know, because I've got a story behind me there which I can then tell to a lot of people, and a lot of people are really, really interested in my military career, and I'm more than happy to share that story to bud and new recruits that want to join the forces, or to people that have been in the army before, or just anyone that's comes into my life really.
Yeah, that's cool. And you weren't out of the army long, were you, before you were running the boot camps?
No, yeah, totally. I went through. It was a really traumatic experience when I first left the army. You know, my ex-wife was Royal Army Dental Corps, and we were both in the Aldershot together. She fell pregnant, and we came out at the same time to set up a sort of better life. One thing led to the other, and we moved to Salisbury, which was her hometown, and we broke up. And that was within a couple of months of me leaving the army. So I got myself in a situation where everything sort of fell apart in my life, and I came out and I broke up with my wife. My car broke down. I had zero money, about £30 in my account. I lost my house and lost my job all in the same week. It was probably the most traumatic week of my life. It was dreadful, and I remember just being sat in this bedroom that I managed to get from sharedrooms.com, whatever it's called, and I remember just thinking, oh my god, I am definitely better than this, and I had to completely turn my life around. And I remember just sort of ringing up a few old clients that I had from Aldershot, and started doing PT on a Sunday, and I got back in contact with my old gym manager who set up a company at the time called Powerfit, now Bootcamp UK, and I said I wanted to set up a franchise. And over the next 6 months I then just sort of put all my efforts while sort of doing this crappy driving job, which I hated so much, and I was in the yard with excuse my, I love civilians, I love everyone, but fat civvies, and they were miserable and they were unhappy and they were eating bourbon biscuits all the time, and I was not happy in that life. So I went forward with it, and I set up Bootcamp UK in Salisbury, and I remember being stood in that field, and we had 40 people that turned up for the first session, and it was like a defining moment in my life, and I thought, I finally cracked it. I finally knew what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and that was obviously deliver great sessions and deliver great fitness classes, and to make a difference in somebody's life, you know. And I did it, and I walked into my civic job the next day, even though I wasn't going to earn any money for the sort of next 6 weeks, and I quit my job there and then, and I just cracked on with my PT business. And it's amazing because when you're really low and you know not wealthy and poor, and you're desperate to make money, and you work ever so hard because you have to. And I've tried to keep that mindset the whole time, sort of work like a poor man to try and keep myself growing as an individual and as a business as well, you know. So that moment in Hudson's Field and Salisbury sort of completely changed my life, and since then I've got 4 more boot camps. I've got Andover, Swindon, Southampton and Winchester. And we're growing them and we're getting bigger, and we've just reached over 500 members now a couple of months ago, which was incredible milestone for me. And you just sort of, as soon as you hit a milestone like that, you just want to keep going, really, you know. So I'm really proud of what I've and my team have done for me. So you're pretty much trying to take over the South of England? Pretty much, yeah. I'm pretty much. We're getting there. Yeah, you having a competition with any of the Northern Monkeys? Well, you know what? Our biggest competition as an outdoor fitness company is British Military Fitness, and they're massive and they've got maybe like 100 boot camps or something like that. But I'm pretty sure that we're hot on their tail, and one day we'll catch them up for sure. Yeah, definitely. So. More for sort of the guys and girls really who are thinking about leaving the forces, or maybe transitioning from one sector into another, which is completely different out of their depths, or leaving a sector. What would your final message be to them for somebody who's thinking of starting a business?
because it's not something that just lands in your lap. There's a lot of variables involved.
When I first came out of the army and I set up the business, it was a massive shock for me, because everything was almost pretty much paid for you. Like your rent was taken out of your wages, and you pretty much all you had to pay is like your mobile phone bill. And I came out and all of a sudden I was paying wages and I was paying tax, and everything was really, really tough initially. What I would do is I would seek as much help as possible. So if you're going to go and set up a business, drop your ego straight away. Drop it, get rid of it, chuck it in the bin, because you don't need that anymore. You need to go and seek as much help as possible. So speak to mentors, reach out, network with people in the same industry, even if that's not necessarily in the same town, but different towns where you're going to set up from, so you're not going to create like a hostility or any competition. But seek out people that know what they're doing and know what they're talking about, and seek out morally right people as well. People that have been there, done it, got the t-shirt and done it in the right way as well. Don't seek out any sort of crooks or anything like that. And give it a good go and work damn hard. I was working 7 days a week, and often I still am as well, just to try and get out the message what I'm trying to do and trying to achieve all my goals. So don't be afraid of hard work. You definitely won't be getting nappy breaks anymore. You definitely won't be getting like long weekends or breaking up at 12 o'clock on a Friday. But this is the civilian life has so many opportunities for you to thrive in, and you just need to give it the best shot ever. Work hard and have fun doing it. Enjoy the process of it. Don't hate on it. Don't see anything as a chore. If you enjoy the process of building a new job and a new career and a new life, then it will go so much smoothly for you.
Yeah, I think I was having a conversation with a friend the other day actually about something that I'm planning to do myself. So I've got the opportunity to do an executive masters in leadership and management, so it's like right up there with my big interest.
Yeah.
So I was speaking to my friend about it, and he's doing the same course, and I said for what you actually want to do, how did you think about getting to that point? And he said all he thought about is exactly what he wanted to do and where he is now, and just reverse engineered it.
Yeah, I've heard this before.
And I was actually like, that makes total sense. And it makes it very much achievable. So then all you're going to do, and this is probably some good guidance for the people listening and watching at home, is just write down backwards from where you want to be back to where you are now, and then you can clearly see what steps you need to take at each point to get there, whether that's like financial or physical, even sort of like emotional relationships, all that kind of stuff. And exactly, so what you just said there, it seems like that's what you've kind of done, like, to get to where you are now. That's awesome. Yeah, totally.
Like I remember I was at an interview. It was like a training day for like a steel company that was delivering trucks for in Andover, and I remember being at this, and there was like maybe 6 or 7 other guys around me, sort of intently listening to the instructor at the top, sort of showing them what to do with their deliveries and stuff. And fair play to them, like that's what they wanted to do with their life, and I would never sort of judge anyone on that. But I remember at that time I literally wrote down my 5-year plan, and it didn't include any of that at all. And I remember writing it down. I was like, I want 5 boot camps in 5 years, and I want to do this and this and that. And I remember just like, I've still got the scrapbook at home as well, and I remember writing it down, and some things worked out, some things didn't, but I remember that was one of my goals that I wanted to achieve, was in 5 years. It wasn't exactly smooth riding at all, and but I got there. And if you just have a clear vision in your head about what you want to do and where you want to become, you'll do it with hard work and dedication and commitment and consistency, really. So
and I think one of the other key things is that we didn't touch on a great deal there is your network and your circle. When you have goals like that, and ambitions, is vital, isn't it?
Oh, totally. I was relentless. I was literally relentless. I remember, because when I first moved to Salisbury, I didn't know a soul. Like, I didn't know anyone apart from my 2-year-old daughter, and she wasn't going to network for me. And so I remember I had Facebook, and I thought, and I remember listening to a shed load of YouTube motivational videos, right, at home. And it sounds a bit cringe at first, but now and again, if I still listen to them, if I'm feeling a bit low or whatever. And I remember just like them explaining to me sort of, how to work hard and things like this, and how to work hard in the gym. and bits and pieces, and it really worked for me. But with networking, I remember just being at home and going through Facebook and adding anyone that from the local area. And we set up the Facebook page, Bootcamp UK Salisbury. Anyone that paid any interest into that, or even liked it, or liked the page, or like commented on the page or anything like that, I just added them as a friend straight away. Some of them would accept, some of them wouldn't, but then straight away for the next 14 days or whatever, I would be top of their algorithm. And I thought, I need to hit my content hard with these people, show them what I'm about, show them what I do, and show them the success I was having with my clients as well. And at the time, in that sort of first crucial 6 months, I had this one client. Her name's Caroline, and she's from Aldershot, and she had this amazing weight loss journey. And she came to me, and she was 116 kilos. And I went and saw her every Sunday, and I was in the truck part time, and I was ringing her, messaging her, asking what she had for lunch, getting her to send photos into me, and all that real accountability to me as a trainer. I mean, I literally journaled her whole story, and she did too, a whole story on Facebook. And so anyone I added saw this journey that I was doing with Caroline, and then she lost 6 stone in a year.
Wow. And
it was the most incredible story, and I've replicated that with a couple of other clients of mine as well, where they've had that sheer weight loss. And anyone that has shared a story like that on Facebook, you just gets attracted to, oh, how do they do that? And then that's how I built up as well. So as long as you're good at your job, you just need to make sure that any story that you do have, that you need to push that out there. Don't be afraid of putting content out online ever, because even if sometimes it doesn't get loads of likes or whatever, like, you're still putting it out there, and you just got to be consistent with that, all the time. If you add loads of people, set up a new business, add loads of people on Facebook, tell the whole world what you're doing. Tell the whole world, and then you'll be absolutely fine. And you, anyone listening that is leaving the army now, don't be afraid of that, ever.
Yeah, and I think that's where people get scared, don't they? Because it's totally out of their comfort zone, out of their norm. It's people just don't. It worries the crap out of them, and their only sort of experience up until then, really, with social media would have been like, watching stupid cat videos on YouTube and
totally.
Just talking crap on Facebook and stuff like that. And the circle usually is very negative.
Yes.
And I've seen it. Like,
I was going to touch on that. Yeah, totally.
And that's what you did the same for myself, same for some good friends of mine. Very quickly made a solid, positive circle of influence.
Yes.
And that's what's led to the opportunities that I've had and things I'm doing now. For example, if you surround yourself with negativity, you'll never get that opportunity.
You know what sort of army lads are like as well. They sort of take the piss out. And I remember having like a circle of my friends in the army, and I was starting to make some moves into Civvy Street, and anytime I put like a photo of someone online, they were just taking the piss. Yeah. Like on the comments and stuff, and I was like, oh, I can't be dealing with this. And I just blocked them and got rid of them, because they're not gonna pay my bills. No. And like, as much as I loved the army for what it was at the time, like, a lot of the time, because I was the lowest of ranks as well, and I'm proud enough to say that now, I was the lowest of ranks, and my opinion never mattered. That really does do a lot for your self-confidence when you're getting shot down massively by fat sergeants or by corporals that are a little bit bitter, that have been in there for 22 years and only made 2 stripes, and that happens, and your opinion is literally worthless. So be able to come out and to have an opinion where people actually pay value to is amazing. Yeah. And I take a lot of gratitude from that.
And then going back to what you were saying about like the fat sergeants and the sort of weasel corporals and that, the camp corporals as people used to call them, that goes firmly on the saying that there's no such thing as a shit team, only shit leaders. And that's something that I emphasise a lot, especially on LinkedIn, and I talk to companies about leadership and the importance of thoroughly knowing your team. Yes. Inside and out, and for efficiency and productivity. And it'll be the same for, I guarantee it'll be one of the many reasons, just one of why your boot camps are so successful, because your members. Yeah. You know what they're up to is so vitally important. you know, like what they're up to the weekend, like
Yeah.
if they've got a family member over, stuff like that.
You've got it. Like any time I see anyone's had a birthday or it's been their kids' like first day at school, or whatever, like on Facebook, I'll take a mental note of that and I say, Karen, like that, like how was little Judy's day, first day at school today? And like just taking that attention to detail with your clients and the customer service goes a real long way. And with leadership as well, like although I'm a sort of leader and I have like park managers, different boot camps that I have now, they're all my friends and I speak to them the way that I would like to be spoken, you know.
Yeah.
Any leader that I had in the army, and I had some fantastic leaders, especially my section commander in Afghanistan, he was amazing, Nath. And I looked up to him because he spoke to me the way I wanted to be spoken.
Yeah.
And I would do any task that he wanted me to do, I would do it with loads of hard work and I'd get the job done. But then there was other ones that were speaking to me like a bag of shit, and I was just fucked them off. Like, not interested. Like, and that's how I got in trouble a lot as well, you know.
Yeah, and you get that in most places, not just in the army. You get it in the corporate world as well. They're only really interested in personal gain, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this can relate. That we all know the best leaders are the ones that correlate ideas from the team and implement basically a team effort plan, you know, and which always ends up having like very good structure. The poor leaders out there are very much I say you do, what we call like a didactic approach to not just teaching but just sort of like delivering orders, for example. It's all very much I say you do, and that's the biggest cause of the large number of people that leave the military and don't know what to do, and they're scared because they've led that I say you do attitude. And you know their confidence is just shot to shit basically. So it's really important that if you find yourself in that kind of situation, that you know you listen to and you take and you learn from as many people that are doing what you want to do. People like yourself, Andreas, that have gone from, you know, sort of private soldier to multiple fitness business owner.
Do you know what as well? Like through everything, like when you leave the army, no one gives a shit about what rank you are.
No.
Not one bit. Like I've never been asked. You know. So my best advice, although when you do leave the army or the navy, the armed forces, as much as you should take a lot of the most amazing things and the transferable skills from the army and tell people about your story, you have to leave it to one side as well, because now you're going to be entering a completely new, different world. Leaving the army is not like leaving any job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, you know, leaving Tesco's. It's a complete whole new lifestyle. Let that be a part of you, but also be prepared to sort of leave that a little bit behind and enter a world where it's a lot bigger.
But with that new, larger scale comes the opportunity, much bigger amount of opportunity.
Totally.
Ability to create a much more influential circle, and just endless amounts of just sort of networking opportunities and sort of things that can come across your way.
Totally.
You know, so I'm sure that like off the back of having 5 boot camps, you know, you're always going to have people that sort of, you know, want to pick your brains. Might offer you something else because you see how successful you're doing with this. You know, might want to buy you out. You know, you're always giving yourself that opportunity by getting out there and doing exactly what you're doing. So it's really awesome. And I'm sure the people at your boot camps, you know, love what you're doing and stuff like that, because the reason why you've got so many big numbers is because you're doing the right things.
Totally.
But yeah, you know, I totally concur with what you're saying. Helping people is almost like a drug, isn't it?
Fundamentally, like the reason, what brings me the most value is helping people. You know, I do a lot of stuff for the community, and we'll talk about the charity stuff later as well. But even just yesterday, you know, I was at school in Southampton, and I was taking them for a boot camp session. It was amazing, and I don't charge for that, because for me, I take the most value from doing something that I don't charge as well, you know, because I'm there, then if the pressure's off straight away, then you can enjoy it if there's no sort of money's there, you know, no monetary transaction. And there were kids that from ages 8 to 11 in year 4 to year 6, and I took them for a boot, and they were part of like a after school running club, and I took them for like some shuttles and some boot camp stuff and over an obstacle course and bits and pieces of that, and it was amazing. And the kids take so much from that, you know. I help out with the cheerleading group up the road, the world champions of the cheerleaders in Salisbury, which are incredible. And I've done lots of stuff for charity, you know, and that sort of gives you lots of value. But for me, even when I first started this business, I've always wanted to just change one person's life, you know. And when I did that, when I was getting a lot of attention for doing that, I went on to do a lot more of it, you know. And I always feel that when people come to my classes, be it indoors in the morning or outdoors in the evening, I always feel like that's often the best part of their day. So it's down to me to then provide fantastic sessions, fantastic customer service, and genuinely care about the member and the client. And if it's genuine, that will come across genuine, and they'll stay, and everyone will have a great time, you know.
Yeah. No, it is. And what you've done is, from the off, is creating a world-class culture.
Yeah.
Because culture is half the battle, isn't it?
Community is everything. And when people feel part of something, like the army, because when I was in the army, especially when I first joined, when I was phase 1, phase 2, you feel part of something, and the sort of system sucks you in a little bit as well. And then there's that where people say, oh, this is the army, military life, and then this is Civvy Street, and they do it for a reason. They're very clever for it, because then they make you stay because they want you to feel part of something. Even now, even the marketing around recruiting new soldiers is about being part of something, isn't it? You know. And you are, and when I was in Afghanistan, and that was the best time for me. I was in the Falklands. It was great because I was part of something that was doing something that was good. It was only when I came back and I felt disenfranchised with the whole thing. But with the community that I'm building now, it's all positive because everyone's moving in the right direction, and anyone can come to the boot camp. Gender, race, sexuality, no one cares. You come. You're part of something, and we work out in the rain, in the sun, in the winds, in the snow, and it doesn't matter because everyone's having a great time, having a laugh, and they're becoming a better version of themselves. Yeah,
exactly that. Yeah. And it's it's great to see, and just getting so many people educated about the importance of healthy mind, healthy body, and stuff like that. It's just in this day and age, I think more than ever.
Oh yeah.
Because I think as a nation and a society, we're really letting things slip. I think in terms of the education that's out there, and because life's very much 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You go stand in the train station, and everyone just looks completely stressed. Yeah. They've got a million things on their mind, walking past you, sort of, they're just
life's in a rush, right?
Yeah, and it's for me, I think it's really important that the more people out there that are getting this, raw education on good nutrition and actual health and exercise, and more importantly, moving.
Yeah.
It's critical, I think, to not just outside of places like the States, rest of Europe.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, because you touched on it there. You went to schools and stuff like that, but the amount of obese kids that we're seeing nowadays is sadly on the rise.
When I was a kid, and I'm only 30 as well, and so I was in school, junior school 20 years ago, and there was only one obese kid there, and you do look at I look at my daughter's school now, and there's loads of them, and it just for me it's a form of child abuse.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's something that parents should be blamed for.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
But there's lack of education, and generally, obese parents breed obese children.
Mm-hmm.
Not always, but it's just incredibly sad, and because when you see them at sports day, they're struggling like hell, and that's not good for that kid's confidence. No. Not let alone their joints and their heart and their lungs and bits and pieces like that, but their minds and their mindset being slower and things like that, their confidence must be shot to pieces.
Yeah, no, massively, and as the saying goes, kids don't always do what you say, but they do what you do.
Yeah, all day.
So if you're very large and overweight, and you really don't care, your child sees that every day, all day, every day, and and eats the same food as you do, clearly, and they don't know any different. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it is very sad to see, and I'm hoping that things get better in this country. I'd like to see a sugar tax brought in properly, like on a lot of stuff.
I think they're trying harder with school meals and that now as well.
Yeah.
But you know, I speak to my daughter and stuff. She still had like pizza for lunch and that. You know,
Same at my kids' school.
Yeah. It needs to be better.
There's nothing wrong with it every now and then, like,
of course, but like it's every Wednesday that she has pizza.
Yeah, so my kids every Friday like also fish and chips and that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the education that side of things needs to be better. But then it's great that people like yourself are going into the schools and you're getting large numbers of kids. You know, it's not just a handful; it's large numbers of kids, like groups.
Yeah.
You know, teaching them the importance of exercise, movement, and just being active.
And they love it as well. Kids love it. They love exercise. They love that feeling. Initially, they get moaning or whatever, but you know, with what you see, I was in Winchester at boot camp in Winchester a couple of Sundays ago, and they've got the kids' park run there, and it's free. Like, and these kids are, I think, was it 1 or 2K or something? They do, I'm not quite sure. But I mean, there's hundreds of them.
Yeah.
Running around that is fantastic. What a great initiative park run is. You know, to get the community for free off their sofas and get them running of all ages, like that for me is perfect.
Yeah, it's spot on. I really like that kind of stuff, and it's great to see kids taking part. And the good thing about teaching kids is kids haven't got to worry about straight after the session I need to go home. I've got to cook dinner for my missus. I've got to put the washing on. I've got to
life is easy.
You know, I've got to do loads of business calls or anything like that. Like kids just like, oh yeah, I've done this really cool class and I can go and chill out and do what I want.
Totally.
They don't have all the worries and stresses that adults do they?
No.
It's amazing how it suddenly soon changes, isn't it? If you think about it. You know, you like look at our lives now and you're like, hang on a minute, it's only like
yeah.
It's not so long ago.
Like they don't pay tax or anything like that, do they? No tax bills, and they just go home, they get fed, and they go out with their mates and stuff. It's great being a kid.
Yeah, and a big part of the whole exercise thing, you know, is it gets kids using their imagination and being more creative. Because again, you know, we could do like a whole podcast episode on like what it's like, things are like nowadays for kids, and you know, video games and stuff like that. But in summary, it's pretty mental nowadays, isn't it? The kids are nowhere near as active as they used to.
No,
so,
I mean, computer games are always going to be there. I mean, I was there. I was part of the PlayStation generation, you know, but my time was restricted on that. I think it's even harder now, isn't it? Because you know, you can't be moaning at your child for being on their Xbox if you're constantly on your iPhone. As a dad.
Yeah, but one of the battles we have is we'll say to like, you know, Sonny outside, oh mate, go out and play football now, but none of his mates are playing out.
Yeah. Because
they're all on their Xboxes, and it's kind of like, what do you do, you know, unless you physically take the kids out yourself. That's the point where it's got to, I think, and
because they're all playing online, aren't they?
Yeah, that's
and they play with their mates online. You know, and you see a couple of success stories from the kids. I mean, it's like on their Xbox, you see like Fortnite winners like win £1 million or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they thought, well, I could do this as a job and stuff, but how often does that actually happen? You know, you have to be realistic with it as well. I think there needs to be a balance, because although the world is going into a more of a technology generation, and we won't ever be able to stop that. So even I guess we embrace it a little bit, or that we have to try and find some sort of balance. Because for me, as an outdoors person, I absolutely love the outdoors, and thankfully so does my child. You know, but that's again how she's seen me, isn't it? They sort of monkey see, monkey do. So you've got to get the balance between technology and the great outdoors, because we can't forget how amazing the outdoors is, because it's beautiful, isn't it? And we need to be out there a lot more.
Yeah, and like we live in an amazing part of the world, don't we? We've got everything on our doorstep.
I love it.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
I surf quite often. I go down to Devon, and it's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
And that feeling of being next to the ocean is just the most amazing feeling. You know, that's where I feel. If I'm ever stressed or feeling like I'm going to start getting a bit run down, I just put my surfboard in my car. I go down to Westwood Ho or Willicombe, and I go and surf for a few hours and just drive home. And because in the sea, when I'm on the surfboard, I can't answer emails, I can't be on my phone, I can't be on social media, I can't do any of this crap, and I'm just at one with my board and the waves, and it feels great.
I think my missus was sat right now, she'd probably start crying.
Would she? She loves surfing?
No, she absolutely loves like just having her feet in the sand on the coast.
Oh,
like,
really? Yeah.
Loves it. I mean, obviously, as I said before, we lived on the Gold Coast in Australia.
Oh, man.
And, you know, we all miss, we're a very coastal family as well, but she's so besotted with having their feet in the sand and
what I'm feeling.
just listening to the waves and stuff like that. Like, yeah, it's like the best thing in the world.
There's no better, honestly. There's no better feeling for that. I think like I love the coast.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Talking about exciting things, let's talk about this. You know, all your charity and work that you've done. You've raised well over massively 5 figures now.
Yeah,
for combat stress.
Yeah.
Tell us about some of the events you did to raise that kind of money, because it's pretty mental.
It was, yes. You know what? I always get because I mention it way too much sometimes, but I started doing. I wanted a goal in my head where I wanted to raise £100,000 for combat stress. I don't suffer from PTSD, thankfully, but I've had friends that do suffer from PTSD and still have episodes of PTSD as a direct effect from Afghanistan, you know. And we can talk about PTSD all day long, can't we? You know, but like I'll go into my events first of all. And 3 years ago, I did my first event, which was 2 miles of burpees. Ouch! Yeah, it was a one hell of a workout, and I've been training for it, and I set it up, and I started on Hudson's Fields, and it was the hottest day of the year. It was in June. It was about 30-degree heat. It was roasting. And I burpeed, chest and thighs to the floor. I burpeed all the way down the town path, all the way down to the Salisbury Cathedral. And it was about 4.5 hours. Anyway, I think like the burpees weren't actually that bad, although you do forget, don't you? But like I did it, and it was just the heat that was absolutely searing towards the end. And the first mile wasn't so bad. I was feeling pretty good by that point. And then I got to maybe a mile and a half in on my burpees, and then it really started to hurt. I almost felt like I was getting Uncle Rabdo was starting to come in. Yeah, it was. Oh, my joints started to ache and my knees were killing me and stuff. But we got through it, and I remember just finishing at the Statue of Madonna at Salisbury Cathedral, and I had maybe like 50 people, up to 100 people there cheering me on.
Was it just yourself?
Yeah, just me, yeah. So I just did the whole thing myself, and I had like people helping me out along, but like I actually did obviously the whole 2 miles, and it was a great feeling finishing that. And we raised £6,000 at that point for combat stress.
Oh, wow,
yeah, it was awesome. And then I did a couple of events where I sort of set up. I did like 5-hour boot camps that sort of pushed the money up a little bit. And then this year I decided to run 456 kilometers with a beer bar on my back for combat stress. Now the reason I did 456 kilometers was because 456 is the number of British deaths in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah.
So I did 1 kilometre per death, and it was a big event. I had 7 days to fit this in. So really, I was doing like a marathon and a half every day. It was like 11 marathons in 7 days with a keg on my back. The keg was empty, but it was still quite heavy. Not in terms of any sort of military sort of burden, but it was 13 kilos. And it was just the sheer size of it that it was really awkward to carry. But I started off in Kent, in a place called Beckenham, and I ran to the London Marathon. And I did that, so it was April the 28th, and then I ran the London Marathon with the beer bar on my back, and it was quite a warm day as well, you know. And then on the first day itself, I ran 74 kilometres, which was quite a long way. And then that was quite a tough day, but a great day, because the London Marathon is a fantastic race, iconic race, one of the big 4 races, and I still got overtaken by the Thunderbirds and Big Ben, but it was fine. I did it, and I got myself through it, which was great. And then.
So you didn't have any beer in the keg?
No beer in the keg.
So what did you do for hydration then? you missed a trick there.
It would have helped. I'm not sure if that helped too much or like got me hammered.
It hurt with the pain.
Yeah, the pain for sure, definitely. Every day after that week, then I ran from Surrey up into Berkshire, and that was up and down the Surrey Hills, which was particularly tough as well. And then that was day 2, and I got through that. That was not so bad actually, but I was working out. The hardest thing about this was just consuming the sheer amount of calories that I used to consume. Yeah. So it was like 9,000 calories a day that I was having. And if anyone's ever had 9,000 calories in a day, do let me know, because it is really hard. Apart from Ross Edgley, who swam around the UK, I don't know anyone else that's really done it. And I was struggling with fuel. I was getting lots in, but I think I was managing maybe 6,000 to 7,000 calories, and it was just really hard. And my appetite was shot to pieces as well. Day 3 was the hardest. I ran from Bracknell to Andover, and I think I don't know who done it. Well, I know who done the route, but thank you for doing it anyway. But it was hard, and I ran up the highest hill in Hampshire. It felt like it was actually, and then that was the hardest day because my knees and my ankles started becoming ever so swollen, and it was a real tough day, that one. And honestly, my ankles started becoming like melons, and my knees just were like starting to get really, really tough. And I was having some serious doubts of where I was going to be finishing this. I got through day 3, 5 kilometers short, and I had to go into day 4 where I ran from Andover to Winchester. But I had to completely change the route where I stayed on gravel and on parks and on athletics tracks as well. So it was just because it was better for my joints. And I remember doing like a marathon around the park, and it was like, I can't remember how many laps it was, but it was just an insane amount of laps. But the community behind me was amazing, and I had this amazing support online as well, and it just really kept driving me forward. When I first started it, I was in the London Marathon, and I went up to £8,000 for combat stress, and my target was £20,000, and I was like, how am I gonna get up to this point? I had no idea, and I was really worried that I wasn't gonna hit the target, you know. Day 4 went over, wasn't so bad. Day 5 wasn't so bad. Day 6 was the worst day for me, where I was in Southampton, and I was going, but I had this horrible knee injury, and it was really affecting me a lot. And I became my mindset started going, that people wouldn't even try and cheer me up. My fuel wasn't working correctly as well. I was getting down with like 500 calorie shakes, and it wasn't still working. Copious amounts of pasta, copious amounts of electrolytes as well, and I just felt so low, because by that point I'd done maybe 9 marathons, and it got to the point then where I was walking, and it was just so hard. And I finished day 6, and I was 10 kilometers short. So I finished at like 10 o'clock at night, got back to Salisbury, and I had to do 74 kilometers on the last day. So I had to wake up at like 4 a.m. So I had like very limited sleep, and then the whole day was just like a walking episode of me going up and around, literally around the circumference of Salisbury, around parks, up Old Sarum, and literally around the whole place. And I was getting fuel in, and thankfully I had a lot of support from my friends that were helping me for that, you know. And it got to the point where my body started shutting down. It was like the last 20k, and I remember just being laid down. I was on my rest, and I was laid down in my house, and my body started shutting down. I started getting the shakes. I started going white, and I was freezing cold, and I was not sure that I was going to finish the last 20k, and I completely shit myself, and it was horrible. And I got myself up, got myself back through it again, and miscalculated it, and we actually did a little bit more than 456 kilometers in the end. And I remember being like 3 kilometers from the finish point, and I only had 1 kilometer to go. So I was like, oh God, I'm doing more here anyway, so I just got more in the bag for the next war. And and I remember just getting that feeling where I was just about to finish, and that moment I said, you've only got 1 kilometer to go. I was like, the spirit is just raised so much for me. It was the hardest week of my life, physically, you know, and mentally as well. And I got to the last kilometre, and I ran in, and then we had like the mayor of Salisbury there, we had the paper, we had Spire FM and all the local radio stations and stuff, and we raised an extra £5,000 the last day, which took us over our total, and in the end we raised £26,500 for combat stress.
Oh wow, it's amazing.
It was literally amazing, yeah. I finished that line, and there's only 2 moments in my life where I could uncontrollably cried. The birth of my daughter, where I just remember seeing it come out, I was like, just completely broke down. And the second I finished that, across the finish line in the Market Square in Salisbury, and emotion completely ran over me, and I just completely broke down. And I just was complete tears, and everyone around me was just clapping. There was like 100 people. It was like 10 o'clock at night, so I finished with like 2 hours to spare. And it was just one of the most amazing moments of my life, and something that I will never ever forget. And when you complete something of that magnitude, of that challenge, you honestly feel like nothing is impossible. because you think back to those moments where you're really struggling and think, well, you know, I've had a bad day. It wasn't as bad as that day, you know, or you know, look how you got yourself through that, Andreas. You know, you can definitely get through this day. And it was just the most incredible feeling, and it just took so much out of me mentally as well. And even like a few weeks after, I was still, you know, mentally drained from the whole experience. But only now, where 6 months later, that I'm really reflecting on what that challenge was and how amazing it was, that I can take a lot of positive, you know, aspects from it and move myself forward. And I haven't quite thought of my next challenge yet. So if you've got any ideas, then just put it on Facebook, guys, and link up with me, and I'll think of it. But
if you hit up with Jordan Wiley, who I interviewed on the last one, he's doing some pretty mental stuff at the minute. So
is he? Yeah.
He's just off to row the most dangerous stretch of water in the world.
Oh my God.
It's never been rowed before.
Where is it?
It's off the Horn of Africa or something. So there's a mixture of pirates, really bad weather, sharks. Yeah, you name it. Like, it's like got a bit of everything.
Yeah.
But he's also he's first person to climb Mount Kilimanjaro barefoot.
Oh wow!
So he did that, and he said though, and it's very much along the lines of what you're doing. You know, is doing something like that is a difference. Suddenly, doing it barefoot is a difference between raising £500 and £500,000. You know.
Totally, and it's like, in order to raise money, you've just got to be relentless as well. Like, it's really tough to raise money for charity, you know, and you're trying to get people to put their hands in their pockets and give you cash is tough, and it gets a bit relentless after a while. But like, the feeling when you've raised an obscene amount of money, like £26,000, is a great feeling, you know. And I'll still continue my target. I'll try and raise £100,000 for combat stress, because it's a charity for me that is doing amazing things. Yeah. They're a charity that haven't forgotten about the war in Afghanistan. Like, the war in Afghanistan, what was it like? When did it finish?
Well, I mean, it's still ongoing. We've still got a lot of troops over there, but in terms of like full combat role, I think it was
2015.
Just shortly after that, I think maybe 2016.
So, at the time, and I remember when I was there, it was the highest British deaths in that summer when I was there, and the support back home was amazing. I remember that, and that was for the first time really ever that the public got behind the war like it did for our troops.
Yeah. And
the Sun and the papers were really behind it, weren't they? But I remember, like, which was incredible, I remember like getting loads of like parcels and stuff over from people I'd never met before, and but it's almost like forgotten about now, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I just think that it shouldn't be, because although we have to move on in life, I totally get that, I totally understand that. But like, the stuff that the combat soldiers were doing out there was stuff of real military history, I think. Like, you know, bayonets were being put on, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
And that won't happen again.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No, I totally agree. And it's like most things, you know, like it's just society in general. Well, they reckon it's about 3 months before the general population forgets something. So when Cecile the Lion was shot, do you remember that?
Yes.
And
yes.
Everyone was going mental over it. Social media just erupted.
Yeah.
And then, you know, 3 months later, people talking about someone else.
Yeah. Fickle.
Yeah.
Right. So that but what I struggle with is that guys that were there won't forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially guys that have PTSD, obviously.
Yeah.
You know. So combat stress obviously help these people do that and help them coach it through it and try and have a better life. You know. And that's why I raised money for that. I know a great bunch of people at that charity as well. So that's my goal, and I'll continue to do stuff that I believe in.
No, that's amazing. Man.
Yeah.
Well done. So, what's your plans really for the next 6 months? Are you looking at opening any more franchises?
So it's going to go into our sort of quiet time over the next 6 months in the winter months. Although we carry on going, we have these great big floodlights that help us throughout the winter with outdoor fitness. So I have some awesome morning classes as well in sort of CrossFit gyms around Andover, Romsey and Salisbury. But like for me, over the next 6 months, I'm gonna link up with a mentor. I've met a pretty awesome girl from Dallas as well, which I'm looking forward to seeing a couple of times. Yeah, and then next year for me, I want to start looking at potentially opening up my own gym.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of great guys that I could potentially do that with as well. So that's something that I want to do, and just really keep building my own personal profile. I've been on TV a couple of times as well. I was on a show called It's Your Fault I'm Fat on Channel 5. That aired back in May, and I helped this amazing family from Southampton lose, and I've seen them out of weight in 5 weeks.
Brilliant.
That was an amazing experience for me. And I was also on Rich House Poor House, which will be aired soon. So I want to continue doing that, continue to make moves, continue to network, and see where it goes. I've got like a 10-year plan for myself to open gyms and keep pushing myself into that market. But I'm also interested in other markets as well, and see where I can take myself, and go from there.
You're doing it already, and you can take the sort of transferable skills and the intellect you get from business acumen and stuff like that, and you could apply that into loads of other different areas if you wanted to create multiple streams of income, for example.
Totally.
Which everyone should really have their eyes set on anyway if you want to be a success in anything.
Yeah.
But in terms of what you're doing, social media, now where can the guys find you? Are you mainly on Facebook? Or?
Yeah, they can grab me on Facebook, just type in Andreas Beirne and you'll find me on there. Instagram's a pretty good one for me as well, so if you just go to Andreas _bootcamp UK, and you can link up with me there as well. And guys, if you need any help, anyone leaving the army at all, or anyone that's interested in fitness, or anyone that wants to set up their own business post leaving the army, just link up with me. Find me on Instagram, email me at andreasbeirne@hotmail.co.uk, and you'll find me in there, and I'm more than happy to help out anyone that's leaving, because I know how tough it is. But when you hit it and you hit it good, then you'll love it. Trust me.
Yeah, that's cool. And for the guys and girls listening and watching at home, I'll make sure I'll put all Andreas' tags in the show notes, so you'll find everything, so you can link up with him. There'll be no reason not to if it's something that you're keen on, you're looking to do your own thing, or you want to actually join in the fun with one of his classes, because and join the hundreds of people around the south of the UK that are getting fit with Bootcamp UK. One last question, mate, before we go. I ask all my guests this. We've got a little time machine here, and you've got the ability to stick a little post-it note on it with a couple of bullet points and send it back to 15-year-old Andreas with a little bit of advice. What would those couple of bullet points say?
Patience and hard work. That's it, really. Nothing happens overnight. And so I always often used to beat myself up about not being where I wanted to be. So if I was to say to my 15-year-old self, it's just keep at it, strive for the ultimate goal, which should always be happiness, and just be patient, and it will come to you, and you'll be absolutely fine. And enjoy the process. That's the most important thing. Always enjoy getting in shape, enjoy the process of setting up your own business, and keep moving forward. Yeah,
that's cool. Now people forget that, don't they? They see the end goal and they don't think about the process.
Like you said before, reverse it back, and then you'll get there.
Awesome, man. Well, guys and girls, you heard it firsthand. And it's amazing to have Andreas on the show. Thank you for coming on, mate.
Thank you so much for
absolutely brilliant. To see a young guy who's left the military and just kind of got himself into a bad state after leaving, which sadly often a lot of people do, but to pick himself up from having absolutely nothing to running 5 successful bootcamp businesses across the south of England and having a fantastic network and fantastic opportunities, and more importantly, helping improve the lives and develop so many people out there is a credit to you.
Thank you.
It really is, and I really hope that people can take away a lot of value from what you're doing now, and your journey from leaving the military to what you're doing now is absolutely awesome, and I really hope the guys and girls listening take as much away as they can. Pleasure to have you on, mate.
Thanks so much, AJ. I really appreciate that. It was a good chat, I like that.
Yeah, awesome, mate. From me, boys and girls, I will catch you next time on the best version of you.